Welcome back. I am so pleased you've decided to dive deeper into Profit Fuel. In this video, I want to define for you as narrowly as possible the revenue model that the most successful practices in the world operate off of to move their profitability needle incrementally. Remember, changing your practice is rarely done instantly. It's called practice for a reason, and everything new takes practice because real sustainable changes are almost always made from steadily formed new habits. Now, over time, habits become like the reflexive muscle memory we use when we're adjusting patients, where we can just feel how to deliver that adjustment without having to think too much. Now, regardless if you're just starting in practice and seeing less than 50 visits a week, or whether you've got a well-established office with hundreds of weekly visits scheduled, the model for increased practice income is universal because the math is irrefutable. Take a moment, if you haven't already, to grab something to write with and a fresh notepad. Let's settle in, roll up our sleeves together and go to work. This isn't complicated, and in fact, it's going to be fun. You see, if we can narrowly define and isolate what can feel like a stressful, daunting business challenge in our practices into a simply defined formula, then we can see the challenge more clearly and the solutions, they become more obvious. In other words, if we can define it clearly and simply, we can fix it with simple, clear solutions. In the practice management world, there are so many critical statistics that coaches and consultants tell you to monitor, and most are important in order to know where your practice is financially right now and to project where it's going. However, let me be very clear. Profit Fuel is not going to dive into all of them. Instead, we want to train laser focus on two areas that are mission critical to your profits. And when these two areas of practice are handled, everything about your practice becomes a little easier, more profitable, and most importantly, practice becomes a whole lot more fun again. Let's handle it by beginning a discussion of three things. First, your patient length of stay. Number two, your patient case average. And number three, how to get both of these things increased. We'll get started on my whiteboard by drawing out for you a traditional chiropractic service revenue model. Then we'll take it apart and show you where the most typical patient compliance breakdown happens and get clear about the 5 critical skills for improving practice income without having or factoring a single new patient into the equation. Here we go. Welcome back, my friends. We're at my whiteboard. This is my favorite place to take apart business problems, draw them out on the board, and when we can break a business problem apart into the parts, then what we have now is a much more manageable problem, and the solutions to these problems become much more obvious. I want to start by getting from the get-go and telling you that we're not management consultants, and we don't want to be. There's lots of different statistics and things that management consultants will teach you that you need to monitor about your practice, and we're not going to get and wade into all of that. But two that we're going to pay very close attention to inside of Profit Fuel are called your patient length of stay and your patient case average. Your length of stay, abbreviated LOS, is really the number of visits that a patient stays on average when they enter your office for care before they leave. And your patient case average is simply calculated by adding up the amount of income that you've derived from visits to the chiropractic for the chiropractic adjustments and services and combining it with the revenue that you get from products that your patients have bought inside your practice. And so Profit Fuel has a very, very simple formula for success. I want you to understand that if we can increase your length of stay per patient by 6 visits and add $300 of cash revenue profit per patient, then what we've done is we like to say at house call your UMI again, your upper middle income in chiropractic once again. So I want to be repetitive on purpose. 6 visits increasing your length of stay per patient combined with $300 makes you upper middle income again. And it's a very, very simple formula to get there. I'll show you how that math adds up in a minute, but here's how we get there. We're going to practice 5 decisive skills together that are going to mean the difference maker between your old length of stay and your new one. Number 1, we're going to make sure that we intake correctly. When we intake correctly and we get to a patient's why, everything becomes easier. Number 2, I want you to learn to communicate and lead your patients effectively. And we're going to train on some of those communication skills going forward. Number 3, I want to teach you to reframe around patients' functional goals and get them away from that pain paradigm that they almost certainly came into your office with. And number 4, I want you to recommend care and products with complete confidence, because you're always going to be focused on only recommending what's best for their outcome. And number 5, I want to teach you to make sure that you structure your patient financial relationships so that they're win-win for both your practice and your patient. Let's take just a moment to understand where the average chiropractor in this country is right now. When we get an average, although many of our practices that are watching this are elite practices with stats much higher, some of you may be just getting started in practice. And so it's good for us for conversational and training purposes to always work off the national average, okay? And right now, the average number of new patients in a chiropractic office are 3 new patients a week. According to Chiropractic Economics and their best surveying data, most average chiropractors are seeing 3 new ones a week. So if we figure a 50-week year, that's 150 new patients a year coming through the average chiropractic office, okay? Now if we can add 6 additional visits right here at $45 each per visit, then we add an additional $270 of service-derived income to that practice. And when we add an additional $300 of cash into that equation, we move our case average by nearly $570 per patient. Now we said the average chiropractic office in the country sees 150 new patients per year on a 50-week year. So $570 times 150 new patients that you're already seeing this year adds an additional $85,000 a year of income to a chiropractic office. The math is irrefutable, and all we have to do is learn the skills to move that case average an additional 6 visits in length of stay and add $300 of cash profit. It's very simple. Now when you add an additional $85,000 to what the average chiropractor makes right now, according to Chiropractic Economics, the average income in a chiropractic office for netting and taking home for the chiropractor is $68,000. Now that's a blended average between associates and brand new doctors and seasoned vets who are toward the end of their career. But for purposes of this discussion, the average is $68,000. So if you're an average chiropractor and we add an additional $85,000 of additional income, that brings you up to $153,000 of income. That puts you square in the upper middle income again of the chiropractic profession. This is simple. This isn't going to be hard. In fact, it's going to be fun. And now that we've taken just some of the complex nature of this thing apart, we understand that despite all these stats, despite all these statistics, if we relentlessly focus together in Profit Fuel on increasing your length of stay by 6 visits and adding $300 of cash, we're going to bring $85,000 more into your income. And this is going to be a game changer, my friends. Let's train on.